What's up, cycling junkies? We're back with Pack Chatter Podcast. We got a lot of fun for you today. Before we start in the show, let's hit up some sponsors and some important info that we're going to start putting out before each episode. So first, we're sponsored by Legacy Bikes. That's Legacy with an I, Legaci, bikes.com. Owned and operated by my man Todd Shesky, Legacy Bikes has all your balance bike needs. Spring is just around the corner. Your little ones want to get outside and do some riding, and you're going to want to get them on a balance bike to start. It's a lot of fun. My almost 3-year-old has been riding one for about a year, and we're having a really good time on it. Just the other day, we went out and rode around the farm. I got on my fat bike. She's on her little pink balance bike, and we're ripping around through the fields and having a blast. So get yourself set up and get on a balance bike. Get your little one going and enjoy those really special moments with your child. We're also sponsored by Once Again Nut Butter. They're employee owned and they produce a superior product. They are committed to sustainability, and they spread integrity. They've sponsored endurance events in Western New York, particularly cycling events in Western New York, for the better part of the last decade. They are phenomenal supporters of endurance events in general and some phenomenal supporters of cycling, and they make for a really, really great race fuel. So as much as it's really important as cyclists, as event producers, as team organizers, that we get businesses involved that are non-industry businesses to help us grow our sport. It's also wonderful that with Once Again Nut Butter, we have a non-industry business that also really complements us as athletes. So get out there, buy Once Again Nut Butter products. If you live in Western New York, you can get their product under the Tops and Wegmans labels. So if you buy Tops or Wegmans Organic with the gold top, you are buying Once Again. You're just buying it under the Tops and Wegmans labels. You can also find them in a whole host of stores under their own labels across the country. We're also sponsored by Castelli. We're thrilled to be in this partnership with one of the innovators of cycling clothing. They've been around since 1876. They were the first to do Lycra shorts, first to do colored shorts, first to do sublimated logos, first to do thermal clothing, first to do a women's collection way back in 1996. We're thrilled to be in any sort of sponsorship and support from one of the leaders in the cycling industry, and extremely lucky to have had that partnership with them for the last couple of years and hope to continue to do so for a very long time. So if you're looking for clothing, whether it's custom clothes for your team or your event, or whether it's just a new pair of bibs, shirt, jacket, whatever it might be, check them out and get yourself hooked up with some Castelli. We're also sponsored by the Dirty Bikes Gravel Series. It's a 4-race series filled with prizes and giveaways. It's presented by Van Bortle Ford, and our big prize for the year will be not 1 but 2 gravel bikes from Growler. This will be done by raffle. Each race features hard, hilly, punchy, heavily graveled courses of 35 to 45 miles or short options of 15 to 20, making for hard challenges for seasoned road, cross, and mountain bike racers, and accessible entrances to gravel for new racers. We're not sending you out on these 100-mile crazy rides that you're out there for 10 hours. We're going out for a hard day of racing on a Saturday and then coming back to a great after party and having a good time. It's a great way to get new people in racing and riding, whether you're there to compete or finish the course. And for you seasoned racers of multiple disciplines, it can be hard, fast racing with a lot of new challenges. This year, we're giving away $11,500 in prizes that include the 2 gravel bikes from my man Wheelo over at Growler, Castelli's winter jerseys across 16 different categories. We have a non-competitive category for e-bikes that are e-bike legal, and fields that include killer after parties with great people. We'll kick the series off on April 11th with our friends at Steuben Brewing and Beer Tree Brewing as we feature the Prattsburgh Gravel Classic. We'll also be doing a pre-ride for that course the week before on April 5th. You can register for both the race and the pre-ride on Bike Reg or on our website at www.ridelcc.com. You can also register for all 4 races through that website for the full series, or you can pick and choose which race you would like to start with. All right, we got one more service here that we're now starting to roll out. I'm really excited about this, and I hope that we'll continue to get events to participate in this as it's a cool way to kind of get the word out for different events. So what we're willing to do here at Pack Chatter is any event that wants us to give them a little plug here at the beginning of one of our shows, all you have to do is send us a little write-up about the event and give us a discount code for the listeners. And for free, we will plug your event. So we'll start here. We have one from Strada Verde on April 4th. So that's coming up. It's a Western New York race out of Victor. It starts in Dreyer Road. The discount code is Verde5, VERDE 5. They are registered on Bike Reg where you can use that code. Team Towpath Racing and Green Mountain Energy are proud to present a grassroots USA cycling sanctioned event for racers who have trained hard all winter with the hopes of early season glory. This race is intended to give riders a mass start and the opportunity to upgrade points for 4s, 3s, and even 2s. The race will not have bells and whistles, and the expectation should be that you're there for the upgrade points and the fast, hard racing, and they'll be scored accordingly. The race will cap the GVCC Spring Giro Series, which I believe starts this weekend. So if you're a Western New York racer, you can get out and get some early season road racing in with the guys and girls over at GVCC. This is a circuit race with each lap of 4 miles. The course is rolling hills with a finish at the top of a short punchy climb. Each group will have a neutral start from the staging area at Dreyer Road Park. All right, so great race. Get signed up for that and get some road racing early on in April. All right, that does our sponsors and our intro material. So now we're going to run you into the podcast. I got a great show for you today. Todd wasn't able to join us, but I was really excited to be able to sit down and chat with TJ Eisenhart. TJ has been a pro racer for quite a long time. He started racing at the junior ranks on the road and got a good experience, a good taste of what it is to be a pro road racer. And now at 25 has said he's moving into gravel full time. This is his new focus, and he does it with a certain flair. One of the things I find really interesting about people coming into gravel, particularly road racers and people who have been accomplished in other areas of other sports or other disciplines, is that they kind of are doing it all their own way. There's no set way to kind of come into gravel, and we see that with TJ. TJ's doing very much an art focused. He has a company called Imaginary Collective, and he's producing his own art onto different parts of cycling and the bike. So he produces his own bike paint job with factory. He talks a little about that, shoes, wheels, and he's got all kinds of ideas on the way that he's going to make his mark on the cycling world through art and through gravel. He's an exceptionally interesting individual. I had a great time talking to him. I thank him deeply for taking the time. Also, a quick thanks to my man Dan Strine for hooking this one up. It was a lot of fun. I hope TJ will come on again as we follow what will be, no doubt, several more years of really interesting progress from him. So without anything more from me, please enjoy TJ Eisenhart from Imaginary Collective.
You'll never go out on a training ride and dig that deep.
Awesome. We won gold.
They're life rides.
I'm like, dude, I'm still figuring this out.
Lose sight of the fact that it's whoever goes faster.
This isn't a road race. This isn't a mountain bike race.
The sensei of sprint, Todd Shesky.
My eyes are coming out of my head. Just get in here.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Sweet.
So.
All right. Well, we're on, and we'll start rolling. So thanks for joining me, TJ. I really appreciate this. I'm really stoked to talk to you. I've been following you for a while, and I feel like you're at like such a cool point in your career that we could talk about so many things right now.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm super humbled and always stoked to talk to anyone and everyone about like you said, kind of this turning point in my career, where starting something brand new and definitely mixing it up. So thank you.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, can you give us like a little background on sort of like where you've been so far? You said this is a significant turning point. So can you kind of talk a little bit about like where your life with cycling started and kind of where you're at this point?
Yeah, it's definitely I definitely only know how to eat, breathe, a bike and cycling and everything. I feel like I was just born and raised to be a professional athlete in my family, but also just fell in love with cycling. And so that at the age of 8 years old, and just instantly knew like it's what I want to do, And like I said, my family is pretty competitive and we love sports. My sister was a professional dancer and my brother played baseball. And so we were very competitive, and always, my parents are always just like, they were the greatest. I mean, they were the parents that never basically told you to get a plan B. They were the parents that always said, no, plan A will work, and we'll figure out a way to make it work, And it's not like we grew up wealthy or anything, but it's like, it was about that hustle mentality, learning that from my parents and learning the hard work ethic. My mom was a high school teacher for 40 years. My dad worked also doing a lot of running a lot of fundraisers and everything like that. So definitely, hardworking people that passed on that trait to me. And
Nice.
like I said, when
What's
it came
your
to cycling,
what?
it just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, sorry. What'd your mom teach? I was just curious.
She taught honors history and law. So
Nice.
I actually took her class when I went to high school because she had taught my brother and sister as well. And so it was like, all right, let's follow in family footsteps. And so, yeah, so that was pretty fun.
So when do you get into competitive cycling?
Yeah, so at the age of 8, we were able to go to Spain, and we were able to see the Tour de France pass by. And that's when I just instantly, like I said, clicked with it and fell in love with it and knew I just loved the bike. And then at the age of 11 is when I got my first bike, first road bike, racing bike. And I, then instantly just fell in love with that and fell in love with racing that local races. And I just fell in love with it. And then again, you get into the whole national team program and, then go to Europe and yeah.
Yeah, so pretty intense road from there until now, right?
Definitely. I mean, it definitely feels like it just is like gone like that. It goes by so quick, and it just feels like, yeah. So, but I mean, all those things that you learn as a junior in racing, I mean, are what I've carried now and are the only reason I'm successful now, and yeah.
So you're now 25, is that right?
Yeah, 25.
25. So still a young dude, still a lot
Yeah.
of racing ahead of you, even though you've had a ton of experience as a very young rider. So you made the decision this year to kind of move away from the road and focus more on gravel. Can you tell me sort of what went into that decision?
Yeah, I mean, so about a few years ago, about probably 3 years ago, I was talking to my brother and I was like, man, things just aren't clicking, and that was just kind of the little issue right there. It was just like not little clicks. And then, we started looking kind of outside the sport and we started kind of paying attention to gravel and kind of the outside aspects. We actually looked into those hot routes or the out routes or whatever. And we thought like, oh, those might even be the next thing. And then the more kind of we started paying attention, looking at it, let's see, the winter 2018, I think, going into 2019, I found out my wife was pregnant with our baby girl. And so that was just kind of like this click of are you doing what you love to do? And are you we're just really kind of paying attention to your life at that moment and just putting it on pause and just being like, all right, you no longer can just kind of go with the flow of life. You have to now are you doing what you want? And are you going to be able to look your little girl in the eyes and be like, you can follow your dreams, but yeah, I didn't. So there's just all these things kept playing in my head. And I've always now that you look back on it, you're always just yeah, you never clicked into the road theme and you never clicked in that atmosphere or that way of how they have it set up business wise. It just never made sense to me. It never made sense to me that any of these professional athletes don't have their own shoe deals it's pretty crazy to me that, like, me with Spider, that's one of the only pro actual shoe deals in the Peloton. When I signed with Spider 2 years ago to design the cycling shoe and to be one of their head guys, it's one of the only, riders to do that, to actually then have input in designing it and constantly creating it, just like they do in basketball and everything. And it just blows my mind that there's not that other freedom and sponsorship freedom in the sport. It's just like Chris Froome's wearing the same cities you are, and it's like that. I get it. Like, you need to, that's an easy thing to sell, but what also sells is limited editions. I mean, and also doing your own collaborations. I mean, what if Michael Jordan never was just satisfied with just being with Nike and Jordan's never existed? Like,
Right.
it's literally it just amazes me sometimes how, like, and it honestly is a lot of the athletes' fault, because the athletes, I'm sorry, but they just, like, get too carried away with like training and racing, that they don't look at the fact that they are entertainers. Like, it always drove me nuts that you'd be at a race in Europe, or you'd be at a big race, and people would, like, you'd compare it to war. And it was like, this is nothing close to war. And we should not compare it to war.
Right.
We are literally riding our bikes in spandex, like, and getting paid for it. So this is not a war. This is entertainment. And every other sport seems to understand that and make money from it. And so it blows my mind that cycling is still just so stuck in their ego that, like, the UCI and everyone are like, no, we do it our way. This is the culture of our way, And it's like, open your heads. Think about how you can actually start generating revenue, making money into the sport, and just looking outside the box rather than just constantly look at, the riders' power to watts and training camps. Think about how you can advertise the rider better. Like, oh, if your rider is signing with this deal that allows them to collaborate with this, that means they're doing more marketing, that you're like, they just see such a small image in the business world side that they don't see, oh, this will pay off in a year or two, or, oh, this will pay out massive in 10, It's just, it's just kind of, so, like I said, eventually you just are like, okay, like, you looking through your phone, you're like, okay, I have all these, owners of these companies, these CEOs are in my phone. Let's call them up. Like, I'm good friends with them. Let's tell them my vision, share how I want to race my bike and ride my bike, share why I love the bike, share how I see to make it profitable, and how I want to strive to make it more of a brand and business and not a cycling team, because it's not a cycling team at all. Like, we're not a group of 9 guys or whatever. We're a group of 2 guys who are working at building a brand and building money, building a company to build revenue. We don't care about winning. Like, we don't care about winning, like, any races, honestly, and our sponsors know that. And our sponsors are stoked because we're getting them more recognition in the last month that we've been, like, or 2 that we've been now, like, going, than any of their other, top people. And that's even their world tour people, So it's just looking at things differently. And it's so funny to me, like I said, how cycling is so afraid to kind of do that.
Do you think that's a generational thing, or do you think that
Oh
you
my
just
gosh,
as
yeah.
a creative guy, this makes sense to you? But
No, I mean, for me,
feel like younger guys are on board with what you're talking about?
dude, there's so many other smarter people, more talented, more creative people, and I honestly just feel lucky that I found myself in the situation. I mean, not lucky because I put in extreme amount of work for it, to hustle and actually build it. But, I feel like you've been kind of given this microphone and this voice to open up this door for these future generations. I want to be able to open this door. So, these high school kids, we're developing thousands of these, high school mountain bike kids. And then after high school, they go nowhere, and it's like, what's the point? What's the point then of having this exquisite league that's better than going to, like, a pro race and then just dropping them off in, like, the deep end of nothing, and, like, just having to completely change and adapt, where it's like, for me, I think, like every kind of marketable thing, they always look at the youth. The youth is the next, market, obviously. So if you can just satisfy the youth and, get their attention of what's cool, and what's trend and what's in culture. And so we're just really paying attention to that, because honestly, the that kind of older generation of fans, and I think of culture of racing, will die off soon. I think that's why you're seeing gravel racing being more popular. That's why you're seeing a lot more kind of originality start to kind of start poking its way through. You're starting to see a lot more like pioneers kind of make it, and so I think it's just we're just, like I said, with Imaginary Collective, we're just basically the pioneer of it, because we're not a one-man show like Colin Strickland or Stetna. What they're doing is completely different. They're advertising the rider and promoting, they are getting results. What we're doing with Imaginary Collective, like I said, is thinking very, very outside the box, where yeah, you're calling people that you want to think to call and to do cycling things with, and not to sponsor a team, but to do things, collaborate with, to build money. That's I think one of the biggest issues. Sorry, man, I feel like I'm on a rant, but
no, man, that's what we want. I want to hear
you're
your thoughts
lucky,
on
man.
these things.
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying about all this. I love the creative outlet, for me, and what I do with the podcast and on the local amateur stuff, and nowhere near at your level as far as performance. I love a lot of the same things, the art, the making content and making that look cool, and trying to reach younger demographics that are very drawn to those kind of things, right? They're not, they don't care about the Tour de France necessarily, but they want to see what's on Instagram. I'm a high school teacher. That's why I asked about your mom.
Oh, sweet.
So I was talking to the kids. I had Jeremy Powers come to a race.
No way.
Not long ago.
We
were talking. Yeah, I brought him to a school. Yeah. But before, he didn't come to my school. I brought him to a different school for that. But he was coming to an event, and I was telling him, some of my kids, my high school kids, about him. And, they don't know a lot about racing and stuff, but they look him up and they just see he's verified on Instagram. So then they're like, holy cow, he's cool. He's verified. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
But it was like, that was the language, that's what got him in the door. And then they're like looking at what he's actually doing, and they're like, oh, this guy is cool. Like, look where he's riding his bike, but it's connecting with them through those same channels that you're talking about. And I think you get a good understanding of that.
For me, I think it's just like the artist deep in me, and, spending a lot of time, as I speak to him out of my studio, working on painting and working on the bike, doing a lot of different things creative wise, and you having to dig deep as an artist, go very deep inside and pull things out. And for me as an artist, I like to be able to tell stories and express those feelings to as broad an audience as I can absolutely touch, basically, and to then turn those feelings into ways of love, good vibes, and everything. So you have to think very strategically about how you're placing things and how you're doing it. And basically my thought process is always if my little girl who's 7 months can basically look at it and smile and get it, and then so can an 80-year-old person look at it and love it, and when they first look at it and love it. And that's basically same thing is basically learning how you can do that with cycling. And I think that's exactly what I'm doing with Imaginary Collective. Is it's exactly that. It's this collective, this group of people, this group of companies. I don't like to call our sponsors. Makes it sound like just a give and take process, where I believe when because we're very specific with who we work with, and I actually have said no to a lot of companies, a lot of big companies, because we want to work with you. We want to be able to develop. We want to be able to express. Again, it's in our form. As I've just released lately, the NV wheels with the decals that we put from local art from my artwork, and then so collaborating in ways like that. With Factor sending me a blank frame to paint and then auction off to charity. That's amazing. And so it's to me, again, it was looking at, okay, we might be a company of two people right now, but with what we've done and with what like, I never look at, I always say you always have something in the resources. Like whatever resources you have, you can always find some way to help or give back, and, Justin Williams does it great with Legion, where every time they win like a USA crit, Specialized gives a junior a bike.
That's
so that's
cool. I didn't know
that's
that.
super
That's cool. Yeah, very
And
cool.
I dig that. And because I believe, teams need to be all about giving back, all about giving back to their community, charity, anything like that. I think that's just always crucial, especially just for make us human, honestly. And so, like I said, we're a group of 2, but yet we are able to get Envy to donate 2 new 2 sets of 2 wheels. I mean, a wheel set with my, artwork on it, and then Factor donated the bike, to be auctioned off. And I mean, at the end of the day, that could be like $15,000 or more auction, raised for charity. And it's like, you're 2 people and you raise that for charity. Like, that's killer, man.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Like, again, it's not all about results. It's looking about, and your sponsors, I mean, like I said, your partners, they love that just as much as you winning a bike race, because they're getting the same recognition, but almost better, because it's doing a lot of good,
So when we talk about gravel, why is the format? And I guess it kind of leads me to 2 questions. But why is the format of gravel allow that when road doesn't? And then when we talk about other big road racers who've come to gravel, you mentioned Peter Stetna, Ian Boswell, Ted King are kind of the ones that I think of as being the guys who are at various stages in their lives, kind of come to gravel differently, but are all guys who had a really strong big road background and chose to come into it. Like, how do you relate to those guys, and why is gravel better for you here than what road was?
Man, I mean, I don't know why I couldn't say why I relate to them or why they did it over, why I did it, because I don't think there's even an ounce of similarity. Because like I said, I think they're doing, we're just doing something different, 100% different. And, we're not, like I said, we're not looking at switching over. Like I said, for me, I was just fed up, man. I just, as a creative person, and as like someone who wanted to do more, you couldn't do that in the road scene. It's just way too restrictive. You have USA Cycling, you have UCI, you have just all that nonsense, and so the gravel was, it's the wild, wild west. And it's like, why would I not like that? People are like saying that in a bad way. Oh man, it's the wild, wild west. There needs to be rules. It's like, man, I live out here in the wild, wild west. I live out in the desert. It's amazing. It's amazing to not have fences up everywhere. It's amazing not to have suburbia everywhere. It's amazing not to have, to be stuck on Watopia. You know what I mean? Like, the wild, wild west gives you freedom. Gravel gives you freedom. The race organizers, they're not they're not like just trying to rip. It's basically this community of people who just love bikes and want to just create things. And it's pretty cool, because you have like these little camps, I feel like, of this community. You have the result group, you have kind of the creative group, you have the event group, you have the bike group, these different, like, basically the minds of gravel. And at the end of the day, everyone comes around the campfire and hangs out, and like enjoys it. And that's the difference between gravel and road, is like, and why you want to switch, because on the road, it's like I said, everyone is comparing it to like war and making it way more, just, it's too serious when it's not, honestly. And
yeah, it seems like there's room for that in gravel. Like you're saying, like, I guess you talk about Peter Stetna, he's coming over, he wants to win, right? He's looking for results. Yeah. Ian Boswell, from what I understand, is retired. He's got a full-time job.
Yeah,
he's
just
gonna
kicking it.
Do this,
he's just
right?
loving riding his bike.
Yeah, and Ted King's kind of the same. Came in a little earlier, was sort of retired and checking the gravel thing out, and now has built something new with his podcast and his
Yeah.
brand around it. So all you guys kind of came up
I
through
mean,
a similar
Ted's an
channel.
OG though. Ted's for
Yeah.
sure an OG who can't definitely. I mean, he won all the big events and everything, so he's definitely an OG. And then definitely like one of the biggest inspirations for me to go into gravel was, to me, the legendary Burke Swindlehurst. Who puts on the Crusher and Tusher. And so
That's right near you, right?
Sorry?
Is that near you? Is that near where you are?
Yeah. It's like an hour and a half north of me. But so me and Burke ride a lot. And I mean, he literally, with the Crusher, when he started the Crusher, that gravel wasn't a thing. People,
Right.
Danny Pate showed up when he was on Team Sky on his road bike to do it,
Right.
and Burke, he's like, when I was telling Burke my division last year about this team or this brand, he was like, dude, I had that same idea, like that's, and has seen that about with gravel. But I think, it just like anything in life and time, sometimes you have to pass on the baton of knowledge and wait for someone to kind of take it somewhere else. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to see other people take it farther, and
Mhm.
so definitely talking to Burke and just learning so much about gravel, about the culture, about how we see it, and that's the beauty is with him now working with Chemo over at Lifetime, and you're just being able to really understand what makes this great, and really understand, like, okay, yeah, the whole, USA Cycling, the whole UCI, the whole how everyone wants to push their noses, and that's not what anybody wants, not even a hint. So it's just like, yeah, so it's definitely cool. It's
So
exciting.
you like the Lifetime acquisitions? You think that's
Oh my
good for the sport?
gosh. Yeah. I definitely, especially just from knowing, Chemo, he's one of the hardest working people, one of the greatest people I've ever met. He's just so kind, loving, and he just purely loves riding his bike and loves these events for that purity of it. The fact that it is this basically wild horse that you let go every year, for that day, and it just goes crazy, and it just is let loose and it can be free. And I think I guess it's just free all year, but you know what I mean? So he's super. Yeah, I love that Lifetime. It's almost, because then it almost puts a protection up of it, and kind of protects, from the UCI kind of going over and putting a event in a corner and bowling it and being like, oh, so
Right. I kind of think of it as Ironman and
yeah,
triathlon.
dude.
That kind of a business model where it's separate from the national sanctioning body. Like Ironman doesn't, I don't know a lot about it, but I don't think they're taking orders from USA Triathlon. I think they're kind of running simultaneously where it's necessary, but that Ironman's sort of its own entity. But that's why that's such a popular endurance sport, especially for amateurs across the board, and that Lifetime seems to potentially have that with gravel in a way that we've needed in cycling for a really long time and never had.
Well, I think too is, like, to add, Lifetime, they see it's entertainment. They like you said, they don't take it too serious, because, well, in the sense of like saying the race is too serious, because you go to those events, you have people wearing cheerleading outfits, and like I said, then you have people standing next to Peter Stetina getting ready to go with his aero bars. So you know what I mean? It's like they see that these events are not meant to be all, rules and flags, and it doesn't, they see that it doesn't make it better. They see that this freedom and expression is actually the beauty of it. And because, to me, that's why I think I truly love gravel, is because it's the closest thing to art that you can do on a bike, because it's just, you can truly be as creative as you want with it. You could take the single track home, then you could jump on the road, then you could take, the fire road, or, so there's a bunch of different, it just allows you a lot of expression.
Yeah, and you see that with a diversity of different events when you compare something like Crusher with Dirty Kansas, with land run, or I guess it's deep mid South now.
Yeah.
The different sort of course setups and the different structures a little bit, and the way that everybody kind of enjoys those different experiences, and it doesn't have to be the same one each time.
Yeah. And I mean, they're all basically, pretty much like, I'd say like self-supported too. So, I mean, it's like, to me, I think, a lot of pro cycling is just like a lot. You almost turn into just to a baby because everything is done for you all the time, that you just forget how to do everything. Honestly, you forget how to sign up for a race. You forget like how to do all this other, I mean, you're just so used to your mechanics always, taking care of this or that. And so for me, I love that it's just like these events are kind of just like, no, just show up and ride your bike. Like, you don't, it's not about having, team cars and all this and that, you know what I mean? It's about just crushing your way to the next pit zone and fueling up and enjoying the next, ride basically.
Yeah, kind
So,
of really being out with the terrain.
yeah. So, and you just go through so much, when you're doing a local crit, you get dropped, you pull out, and you maybe did 15 minutes, like if you're doing a 30-minute crit or a 40-minute crit, whatever an amateur crit, length is. And even if you're doing an hour and you only did 30 minutes, like that's a bummer. And again, you're just riding around in a parking lot. You go to these events, you're riding in usually that state's most beautiful kind of area, or that area's most beautiful area. You're getting off the roads, you're enjoying the scenery. And like I said, it's like when you have a mechanical, you're not that bummed because you're just then kick it and enjoy the ride, whereas you get a mechanical in a local road race or, a pro race or whatever, and it ruins your whole day. Could even ruin your whole week,
Right.
like, and it's just stupid. Like, it's so funny now that I have like my daughter and, setting all this up, and you just look back at the things you would like just waste negative energy on, either feeling sorry for or complaining about, whether it be like results or not being able to do a training that day, or, like not hitting your target watts. And it's just like, it sounds silly, but every pro cyclist deals with that, and it's just like, it is the most ridiculous thing when you look back, you're just like, what? I thought I was gonna I thought that was the end of the world. Like, you kidding me? I thought it was the end of the world if I didn't hit this power for 20 minutes. And now I'm just like changing dirty diapers like crazy and realizing, oh, life is way, way bigger and better and way full of more opportunities than just cycling in that world. Cycling exists outside of that sport. It exists.
For sure.
It's going to exist forever, man. The bike, like, it's just a staple of human, like, nature, basically.
So tell me about being a dad, man. I got a little girl too. She'll be 3 in
Oh
May.
my gosh.
So it's a fairly new experience for me. So, like I only got one. She's the only one, And so at 3, we're learning a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
Yours is 7 months old. How does that work for you? What's that experience been like?
I mean, I think you could definitely relate where you definitely lose your mind at some point. You definitely.
Yeah.
There was a point, like, I remember, like a month in or 2 months in, about a month in, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna make it. Like, you're just your wife is absolutely exhausted. You're exhausted, and you just think you can't get any more tired. And then I feel like there's just one day where it just all of a sudden snaps and clicks, and you're just like, I'm just gonna be tired now. Like,
Right.
it's not a big deal. Like, and you just honestly, it's like you live to wake up to then, I mean, just take care of her. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's just funny the things I used to worry about, or how I used to, and you just worry about your self-image in front of others and all this, and it's like then you have a baby and you're like, I could care less what I look like in front of someone else. I'm like her protector. I'm her dad. Like, I don't care what I care about her. Like, I will literally take the shoes off. I will make sure I never have shoes to make sure she has shoes. You know what I mean? And it's like a complete opposite. I used to, go out and like think, you know, your image was everything and buy nice shoes or buy nice clothes and be all obsessed about kind of that image of material things instead of actually putting out artwork or meaningful things. And it's like, now I could care less if my clothing is dirty. Now I could care less whether like you know, you're buying this or that. All you care about is just like making sure you're making her happy and smile, and you know, she just is always protected. So it's definitely just the most phenomenal experience ever. I mean, I definitely was terrified when I found out, but it definitely has worked out all for her, and I think it always pretty much does. So
Yeah, it's cool. It changes, you know, it just like when you think you got one thing down, something else comes, but it
oh
also
my
opens up so
gosh,
many new things, you know, when you
dude.
start talking and walking and really like communicating too.
Yeah,
That's wild. And you're kind of like right at that beginning point, you know, seven,
yeah,
8 months, you're gonna start seeing
yeah.
some of that really light up where they go from being a baby to like being a little human a little bit more and you know,
Definitely. I love
and
it.
fun stuff like that.
Seeing
Yeah.
the personality come through. And I mean, like I said, you just take one look at your child and you're motivated to, you know, go work harder, you know, or go make something successful, you know? And so it's just like, it's funny. I feel like ever since she came into our lives, it's like, I can't fail. Like, I can always be successful, you know, and I will always be successful because of her, you know? And that's just like, just because you're her dad, and also just because you just can find, I feel like, such a fire and motivation inside yourself to do whatever it takes to make it happen, you know?
For sure. Yeah, being a girl dad is kind of cool too.
Oh
Like
my
I
gosh.
grew up with
Yeah.
just brothers, so like having a little girl has been a different kind of experience that way, but it changes you a lot to
Oh
be a
my
girl dad as
gosh.
opposed to like the roughhousing boy dad, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
that's
Definitely.
very different, but it's cool. And she still likes the outside stuff, you know, still likes to do a lot of the fun stuff too. We were outside yesterday. I was riding the fat bike around the farm and she's riding around on her little pink strider trying to keep up. So
Nice,
that
man.
was a cool experience for the first time to be out doing that stuff together.
I love it, dude. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love just going on walks or, yeah. I mean, just getting outside with her, having her in the studio, you know, just fun things, man.
So artistically, like obviously maybe some new inspiration comes with her, but what has sort of inspired you artistically over the years? Do you have like certain artists or music, or what is it
Oh
that kind of
man,
kind of jives for
it's.
you?
I mean, for me, uh, it's everything, and that's like kind of the issue. It's literally, my mind is like a circus because I look at everything, and you look at it and you always see potential, and you always look at everything about how you can just adapt it or change it to make it a little bit more appealing, I guess, to you, and to somehow, I guess, leave your mark on it. uh you know, and that's like that's a difficult thing for an artist to find their style where they can translate that not just from the canvas but to any object, you know. And I think obviously a very big example and culture icon right now would be Virgil, with Off-White, and with him working with Louis Vuitton. uh just the way he is able to work either on fashion or architecture or artwork, or, you know, he just, anything he touches, you can always tell it's his vibe. And I think that's something all great artists truly have a way of doing. I mean, you look at a Picasso piece and you could always tell it's a Picasso piece. You know, you look at a Monet, like all that stuff, you know. And so it's just about finding that vibe. You look at even like Finney's, all of Finney's found his vibe and his style, and it's just about finding that and then being able to basically not even finding it, but almost opening it up inside yourself. So it's always inside you, but going deep within to actually finally let it open, and anything you touch you can then basically express.
What's your favorite way to express? Is it I know you do some painting or a
Yeah,
lot of painting.
definitely.
Is there other modes that you work with, or is that
Oh
it, or
man.
what's your
Yeah,
favorite?
no, it's like I said, everything. I'm looking for everything to uh, constantly be creative and constantly find a new canvas. But definitely, obviously, just paint to canvas is my like always just go to, and it's pretty standard and like just normal relaxing vibe. But whether it be like I said, working on bikes or designing shoes or designing clothing or looking at our home and figuring out how to like just architecturally be more expressive with it, designing just like even designing furniture. I get a massive influence from music. I love music, constantly listening to music every day. And so, yeah, literally inspiration it's never really an issue to find inspiration because inspiration is everywhere. The issue is just putting it down, basically, like figuring out how you want to put it down, because inspiration is the same for everyone. Everyone can look at a tiger and get inspiration from a tiger, but how they display it, how they show that artwork could be complete polar opposites to every single you know what I mean? Someone can either paint that tiger, someone could take that tiger print and add it to clothing, like, you know what I mean? It's just about finding your kind of way with it and applying it. And so it's like I said, it's not a shortage of inspiration, but figuring out how to do it. How do you take the inspiration and apply it?
What music inspires you?
Oh man, literally I listen to music all day long, whether because I'm in the studio or out riding. It's just nonstop, either country to rap, like it's everything, So right now we're definitely kind of a country vibe because I think I'm wanting, kind of feeling the sunshine right now, and the sun's feeling really warm. So it just honestly depends on the whole vibe that you're feeling, Like if I'm working in the studio late at night, it's probably going to be more like psychedelic rap. So more like Travis Scott, or even going towards like listening to music like Sturgill Simpson, So
Yeah.
it's it literally, and that's almost an art form in itself, is finding which music works obviously for which vibe and what you're trying to pull out of yourself. So like if I know I'm trying to pull out something that's a little bit more rugged, or maybe it's smooth, then you're obviously going to listen to different music. So it's just about figuring out. That's why it's this whole process and setup, and make sure you're obviously, just like everything, like setting is everything, making sure where you're doing your art is basically appropriate and good, and the vibe is good.
What's the best Nirvana song of all time?
Oh my gosh. For me, I honestly, I would have to say I always loved "Rape Me." That sounds like great. I love that song because I mean you've listened to it and it's just like this very, very like you just like you'd listen to it and everyone would just complain probably and be like, this is so inappropriate. And you go and listen to actually what Kurt Cobain is meaning, and again, it's like everything has meaning behind it. Like every art has meaning behind it, and what he was meaning was just like, in his mind, he just felt like people, friends close to him were, kind of selling him out at that time, and just he just felt like he was being taken advantage of in life and through his music and everything like that. And so, like I said, it's like, it's funny. Like I said, you can have something that says something but means complete opposite, and now it's more about how he feels like this very deep pain. And like I said, I think that's what's beautiful about music and musicians. A lot of times they're 100% not afraid at all to say anything, and that's what allows to make great music and artwork, is the fear of no fear of expression, and not a fear of to offend, just the fear of to putting out their artwork, or that. And also in Bloom, I love, especially listening to the Sturgill Simpson version. I listen to that version a lot with my daughter, so I love that.
Cool. Very cool.
I have a lot of thinking into everything.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly what we were hoping for. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. I love the way you talk about music inspiring this stuff and the way that you're using the bike to create art, and that's sort of where you're at
Well,
as your
totally. I
whole
mean,
push.
music,
I think
when you
that's
ride your bike and you're listening to music, that influences you how you're riding. You get like you feel a song that comes on that you're like really feeling it and vibing with it. You start kind of applying that in your pedal stroke and like maybe sprinting around this corner, playing with it, you know? And same thing with art. Like when I'm in the studio and a song is going good and I'm vibing with it, the brush starts going with, basically the music and you're just vibing. And so everything connects, and that's what I think is beautiful is all artwork helps inspire other artwork, and nothing is original. Nothing is ever,
right.
there's no such thing as an original thought. It's about taking someone else's idea, learning from it, understanding it, and then figuring out how you relate to it or how you can maybe even make it better.
Yeah, it's about that's what drives culture, right? And
Yeah.
that's what arts or music is so great when you look at it, these little microcosms of musical culture where they're talking about what Nirvana did or rap in the 90s or
Yeah.
country in the 80s or whatever it might be. They all have
Yeah.
art and dress and music and language and all of these things that go around it. It's not just the music, right? It's all of these components. And I like that you're translating that into cycling. When I think about, I
Exactly.
put on some events, and when I think about events, a lot of times I'm inspired by different eras of music because it completes a whole culture. And when you put on an event, you want to create a culture around it, right? It's not
Exactly.
just the ride itself, right?
And that's, I mean, exactly what we're trying to do is with Imaginary Collective is encapsulate the culture and be the culture. Like I said, we have a lot of different ideas to do that, and I mean, it's great because it's just nobody else is thinking of, because like I said, everyone else is thinking about the race and winning, and here I am in my head coming up with these new ideas and just vibing with it, because again, like I said, you're thinking so outside the box that you're just you can't fail because you're just gonna bring such a new exciting thing to this space that and like I said, a lot of times it's just not even about bringing something new, but just somehow, like I said, encapsulating it into one thing. So like gravel's already amazing, that's why I came into it. I just want to make sure it stays amazing
And kind of develop your own take on it, right? I mean,
exactly.
move it in a direction, or at least influence it in some direction where you have your
Oh
mark, but it goes in all different. And that's, again, if we go back to the music analogy, that's what's beautiful about it is
yeah.
everybody has their own culture around it, and it's the culmination of all of them, whether you're
Yeah.
talking about subgroups or the larger group of it.
Yeah.
Where do you see Imaginary Collective in 5 years? Like if it's a perfect progression, what would you like that to look like?
Let's see. I'm just thinking what to tell. Like I want to tell you. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah.
Just because, like I said, you get to where you're like, you don't want to share every idea
Sure.
out yet. 5 years, we'd like to basically, let's see, next year we'd like to be a staff, I would feel like, of 10. That would be awesome in 5 years. And to have Imaginary Collective set up and basically handling, sorry, I'm just trying to I've never really had to like do this about keeping things quiet. Yeah, just I guess just working closely with the races, working closely with just, I don't know, building new things. I don't, like I said, I don't really want to express a lot because I want to blow everyone's minds.
That's all right, man. I get it.
And
That's
I
cool.
want to, like I said, I want to be like I've told in Fred Dreyer's podcast, in 100 years, when people are talking about gravel, they're talking about, Imaginary Collective. When you talk about cola, you talk about Pepsi and Coke.
Mhm.
So I want to be Pepsi or Coke, one of those colas just like, you know, yeah. So that's basically the idea, is to become the genre, become that market.
What project are you working on currently that you're really excited about?
Man, so a lot of the art stuff with the Factor and Envy. We've had a lot of cool meetings with Cliff Rose. They're this 4 Diamond Hotel in Zion National Park. So that's super exciting, with some really exciting thoughts there going into that. We have a lot of different clothing ideas and design ideas. Not just, I think it's again, like I said, I don't want to go in too much because I don't want to give away too much. Yeah, definitely we want to got a lot of cool things, I guess, on tap. But just about keeping it quiet.
All right, cool. How about
sorry.
No, it's all right, man. When you're ready, you tell me.
Yeah.
How about that? How about your race calendar? What do you
the
got
race
coming
calendar.
up?
So I mean, it's a super big bummer with Sea Otter being canceled. That was a massive crush. But up next we have True Grit out here in St. George, and then we have the Nova Eroica ride out in Cambria, California, which should be phenomenal. That's that Eroica, that old school cycling in Italy, where you do those rides in like the old school style. But since they brought it over to the Cambria, they just made it just a gravel event. So the Nova Eroica, so that should be pretty fun. And then after that, we're going to hit up Santa Cruz to go do some mountain biking out in that area, because we'll be out there. So we figure we might as well just get some great riding and enjoy. And then there, we're actually probably going to link up with Pirelli, since Sea Otter got canceled, and just, try to get some content and cool stuff going. And then after that, maybe then it'll be BWR. It'll be Dirty Kanza. And then after that, we're going to do Tulsa Tough. Those will be the only road crits we'll do.
Oh,
And
cool.
then we'll do the Crusher. We'll do the Rift, Steamboat, like Load Boat. Basically every event, every big gravel event we're going to be at.
Very cool. So a lead boat is Leadville and Steamboat both, right? That's what they're calling that this year?
Yeah.
Because they're like a week apart, or
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they're they're a day apart.
Oh, they're a day apart. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna do which one's first?
Leadville is.
Leadville and then Steamboat.
Yeah.
Is that the order you'd prefer it in, or you think it'd be better the other way? Or doesn't
Honestly,
matter?
don't care, man. Like
Yeah.
I said, I'm just riding my bike now, so it doesn't matter. Like I don't look at courses in advance. I don't plan that stuff out, because I just want to ride my bike on that day, and it's like not overthinking it, not looking at gear ratios, or, not just like I said, not overthinking things, and just purely enjoying what that event means. And that's just, you're up in Leadville, it's this massive culture, this vibe, and it's just about enjoying that.
Cool. All right, man. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate it.
A lot of fun. I hope we could do it again and keep hearing about what you're doing. I think you're doing something really, really cool. So
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate the love, dude. You have a
All
great
right.
day.